Good morning Year 4 and welcome to day 3 of our poetry lessons. Today is Wednesday the 22nd of April and the aim of our lesson today will be me giving you some advice on how to make your poem flow really well, have a good rhythm and how to make some really creative rhymes. And at the end of today's lesson you'll get the opportunity to start writing your poem. So to make sure that my poem flows really well, I'd try and make sure that my poem has roughly the same amount of syllables in each line. So for example, I don't want a really short line followed by a really long line. Okay, if you have a nice rhythm, that will make the poem sound really great when you're performing it. You may also want to make sure that each of your stanzas contains the same amount of lines. If you're finding that you're struggling to find a good rhythm for your poem, get all of your ideas down on paper first and then come back to it later to edit that rhythm into it. Now the trickiest part of writing your poem is probably going to be making your lines rhyme. Okay, you can choose how many rhymes you want in each stanza. I decided to do rhymes at the end of every 2 lines that I wrote. However, you might want to do rhymes a bit differently. My main advice for coming up with some good rhymes is choosing words that are quite easy to rhyme. And I know that sounds very obvious, but try and think of words to do with school that have very common sounds at the end of them. For example, if you choose to end a line with chair, then the following line you'll find it a lot easier finding words that rhyme with that, such as air, fair, hair, snare, etc. Make sure that when you're choosing a word to rhyme in your poem, that it makes sense for it to be there. Don't just choose a word because it rhymes. If you are starting to struggle with either rhythm or rhyme, try and write down everything that you've got in your head first so that you've got the basis of a poem written down. And then you can worry about adding in some rhythm and some rhymes later. So now you are ready to start writing your poem. Keep in mind all of the advice that I've given over the last 3 days, but when you're writing your poem, be as creative and free as you like. Okay? And don't be too worried about getting it right the first time around, as we'll be writing across 2 days, so spend about 20 or 30 minutes today starting to get some of your ideas written down.